Lois finds herself confronted by Lloyd Creighton, the Doombreaker, who asks for the reporter's help and that he was drawn to them. He angrily smashes the door of the farm open, demanding to know why he was brought there. Superman returns, hitting Doombreaker away from his wife and out into the yard. Clark asks how did the man find him, hitting him again into a tree. Lois tells Clark that he was drawn to their location and just happened to find them there. Lois hopes this has nothing to do with John's disappearance, but Clark doesn't know, only telling her that their son has disappeared. Clark tells her about the ship he found in the field and he was investigating it when he heard Lois scream. He assumes that John is with whatever alien came out of the ship and they shouldn't presume that the alien was hostile. Lois spots Lloyd has escaped, worried since Doomsday was hellbent on killing all Kryptonians, and if Doombreaker is the same, then he'll try and find John. Clark promises that won't happen as John and Gliana are taken by the robot into his ship in orbit, where they are told that the princess is going to be returned home and they will both stand trial for treason. John learns that he's guilty by association as they are thrown into a cell with laser bars. Gliana hopes that Superman will come to her rescue and John assures her that he will. However, he thinks the princess would have had a bodyguard with her. Gliana didn't see the need for one since her family had ruled their planet for 17 generations, and that only changed when the planet's ability to sustain life gave up on it, and her family was blamed for the lack of resources, and her parents were killed because of it. She is sure that they will kill her as well, and it's why she came in search of Superman, hoping that he would serve as her personal protector. John reminds her that Superman isn't anyone's personal protector, he protects everyone. Gliana thinks that she knows him and John reveals that Superman is his father. The princess believes that makes John the equivalent of a prince as John powers up his heat vision, blasting the control panel that is powering the energy bars keeping them in the cell. Doombreaker meanwhile makes it to John's treehouse, retrieving the piece of Doomsday hidden there as he tells himself that he needs it to complete his transformation and to make it a permanent one. John meanwhile uses his super speed to get free from the cell as the robot warns him if he refuses to stand trial, he will be killed. John tries to stop the ship from leaving orbit, finding a navigational gyroscope and ripping it from the ship's hull. The robot tries to warn him not to do that, but it's too late as the ship's ability to fly is deactivated, causing it to fall back to Earth like a stone, as the princess tells John that thanks to what he did, they are as good as dead. John awakens sometime later, remembering that he and Gliana used an escape pod to get off the ship. He wakes up properly to find that they were thrown from the ship and Gliana is gravely injured. John reaches into the ship, removing some of the burning wreckage that was pinning her. In the process, he hurts his hands, but pushes through the pain to get Gliana out of the ship. The girl comes to, thinking that the son of Superman was invulnerable. John tells her that he's not fully invulnerable and now he doesn't know if he ever will be, looking over his now burnt hands. She tells him to close his eyes and calm himself, telling John to remember how she could speed up the process of decay with her powers, but she can also use that power to heal. She uses the power to fix John's burned hands. Gliana believes that because John is almost like a prince, he leads a life of great privilege, but John tells her that he just has a regular life since it's how his father was raised, and to truly understand people and serve them, you have to be with them and not have the princess's life. Gliana doesn't think that it's as glamorous as it sounds, since her world was near the end of its life and most of its resources were depleted and the population was in decline. She reveals as ruler, her father did all he could to sustain the world, giving the people what he could, but when they began to starve, their love turned to hate and they rebelled against him and her family, taking over all of the killer mechs and putting her parents on trial, sentencing them to death. Luckily, Gliana was able to escape and come to Earth with the intention of finding Superman so he might be able to restore her to the throne and restore order to her world and people. John knows that her father will help, as long as she is trying to help others, that is. The duo try and deduce where they are in the world, and John finds they're in the South Pacific somewhere, and it's too far for him to fly back to the mainland. Gliana fears that they are trapped, but John tells her that his father has super hearing and once he calls, he will come in an instant. Clark and Lois meanwhile race to John's treehouse, finding the entire structure has been destroyed. Lois finds her son's tattered backpack nearby, asking Clark what happened here. Before Clark can mention the ship he knew about, he hears John's voice, but he can't leave since Doombreaker attacks.
Clark tells Lois to find Gliana's crashed ship since it had weapons on it as he fights the monster. John meanwhile finds it strange his father hasn't come yet, thinking that he might be busy with a villain or something. Gliana becomes frustrated since they don't have the time to wait, but Killer Mech arrives, demanding the princess stand trial. John gets ready to fight, but Gliana wonders how it's not possible that he hasn't realized yet the Killer Mech is taking orders from her. Before John can question her, Killer Mech blasts John, putting him in a stasis beam, as Gliana tells the boy that she is going to do whatever is necessary to make sure that Superman does whatever she commands.